Hello, my name is Brent Hunt, and tonight will be my last video. I'm going to be talking to you about who is John Rawlings Rees, R-E-E-S, who very important person. Probably, I doubt even 1 in a million people know who this guy is. And so we're going to read a little bit about him, give you an idea what he's about and how he rose up and did certain things in Tavistock. Uh, I will say simply he was born June 25th of 1890 in Leicester, England. His dad was a Methodist minister, Reverend Montgomery Reeves, and his wife, Catherine Miller. John Rollins Rees experienced frequent relocations during his early life as his father moved from manse to manse, that is to church. After a period spent at Leeds, Leed, most of Reed's education at Bradford Grammar School. He then attended college, where he studied medicine and natural science and played water polo. Following his degree, Rees worked as the Victoria Park Chest Hospital, studying tuberculosis. Rees was finishing his medical education at the London Hospital when the First World War broke out. He joined the Friends Ambulance Unit in 1914 and later became a medical officer in the Royal Army Medical Corps, where he was awarded the Belgian Knight of Order of the Crown for his work with Belgian civilians. After being invalidated back to London for a time, Rees was placed in charge of a motor ambulance unit in Mesopotamia until 1919, when he demobilized with the rank of captain. So, how did he get involved in this group? How did he get involved in Tavistock? Why would a son's preacher son get involved in something what he's involved in? Did he simply was, smarter than everybody else, or saw things such and such, or what, such and such? We do know this simply is that he was not only the director at the Tavistock Clinic, he was also the president of the World Federation for Mental Health. That's a critical thing, folks, because it's an international, multi-professional, it's an NGO, including citizen volunteers and former patients. It was founded in 1948, in the same era as the United Nations and the World Health Organization. So this came along with the same organization. And this is a big business, mental health, folks, is. It's basically those who don't go along with the deal here, then what happens simply is that you're seen as being mentally ill. They've used this against other people who have stood against the system. His notable works were The Health of the Mind, The Shaping of Psychiatry by Moore, and Modern Practices in Psychological Medicine. He started work at Tavistock. Tavistock's not, it doesn't get any money from the government at first. As far as I know, it still is that way. A guy named Hugh Crichton Miller invited Reed to work with him as a private psychiatric nursing home called a Bowden House, Harrow on the Hill. Rees married Mary Isabel Hemingway, and also the resident of medical office at Bowen House in 1921. Their marriage occurred shortly after Reed and Crichton Miller created the Tavistock Square Clinic for Functional Nervous Disorders, a volunteer hospital which opened in 1920. Mary also joined that staff also with that group. The clinic specialized in new dynamic psychologists of Sigmund Freud, and particularly relations theory, Donald Fairbairn, Fairbarn, and others, as well as educating others at the clinic. Rees took the DPH position in 1920 and the MRCP position in 1936. Rees was one of the key figures in the original Tavistock Clinic and became its medical director from 1933. He began to make plans to establish an institute on medical psychology with beds and more opportunities to train people in psychiatric methods, and bought a site in Bloomsburg to build it, but his plans were halted by the outbreak of the Second World War. Rees was appointed consulting psychiatrist to the British Army during the Second World War and attained the rank of brigadier, according to Eric Trist, author, another key member of the original Tavistock group. In 1941, a group of psychiatrists at the Tavistock Clinic saw that the right questions were asked in Parliament to assure or to secure the means to try new measures. So they're going to use these people as guinea pigs. As a result, they were asked to join the Director of Army Psychiatry and did so as a group. During the war, Rees oversaw his colleagues' experiments with group psychotherapy, therapeutic communities, morale, rehabilitation, and selection tests. And then he had an affair that is not an affair with a woman, but he had the affair with what we call Rudolf Hess. Hess tried to escape. He actually tried to escape and did escape from Germany. What I understand simply is that Hitler thought, because I believe Hitler was a British agent, folks, or I felt was involved in that. What I mean by that, he thought the British people would be on his side. And he wasn't what we would call supposedly interested in war. That actually, the Poles forced that eventually, and then they eventually did something. But in reality, the British wanted them again to have another war, to destroy them. But they're done for two reasons, folks. This is what you have to understand. Wars are about destroying young people so that they don't have families and produce children. Kill them or either maim them so that they won't be able to have children. So it's a way of actually not only getting killed, but also simply not reproducing at a rate that has been in the past also. So the work which occupied most of Rees' time during the war was the case of Rudolf Hess, together with Henry Dix, D-I-C-K-S, a fellow member of the Tavistock Clinic group. Rees was charged with the care of Hitler's deputy at the secret prison location where he was held following his capture after landing in Scotland. He flew actually the plane. Folks, I don't understand how he even got through there, okay? I'm surprised. That would be more interesting to look into that. How did his plane, being I think was just a simple prop plane, which it was, how did he get there? And how did he get there without actually being shot down? It could be. I don't know. I don't know the details of that. But anyway, over the 4-year period from 1941 to Hess' appearance at Nuremberg trial, Rees apparently established a relationship with Hess. Hess' diaries record many meetings with Rees, referred to as the time as Colonel Rees, in which Hess accused his captors of attempting to poison him, drug him, or mesmerize him. Yeah, he was probably used as a guinea pig here. In 1945, Rees was a member of the three-man British panel, which Churchill personal physician Lord Moran, M-O-R-A-N, and an eminent neurologist, Dr. George Riddoch, R-I-D-D-O-C-H, which assessed Hess's capability to stand trial for war crimes. I'm a little hesitant. I'm trying to figure this whole thing out with Rudolf Hess. When he came there in 1941, how could he be tried for war crimes, folks? The war had only been going on, I think, since 1939. And as far as I know, he was there either to surrender, and yet they're going to use him as a war crimes. You got to ask yourself these questions, folks. You really do. You don't just take their particular position on what they're thinking and telling you what they believe. Well, he was part of the war. Really? You say, really? No, I don't think so. As a result of his war work, Rees was appointed commander of the Order of the British Empire in 1946. Received awards including from Thomas Salmon Memorial Lectureships in New York Academy of Medicines in 1944. The William Willerton Lectureship at the University of Birmingham in 1945, and shared the first new Lasser Award. Brock Chisholm, which is the Canadian psychiatrist, another weirdo. Believe me, folks, really bad guy. 1945. Brock, B-R-O-C-K, Chisholm, C-H-I-S-H-O-L-M. His first name was George. After the war, the Tavistock Clinic underwent considerable changes in which Rees played a key role. He was a member of the group who referred to themselves as the Invisible College in reference to the 17th century precursor to the Royal Society. This group orchestrated the Operation Phoenix, making plans for Tavistock to rise from the ashes of war. After the war, this group included Rees and five others, I should say, formed the interim planning committee at the Tavistock Clinic. The committee was chaired by Wilfred Bion, B-I-O-N, meeting twice a week to formulate a new way forward for the work at Tavistock. Based on wartime experience, Rees' plans for the Institute of Medical Psychology were never realized. Instead, the group went on to found the Tavistock Institute, which was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. Rees left shortly after in 1947. After leaving Tavistock, Rees' first role was the chief organizer of the 1948 International Congress for Mental Health, which was held in London. At this Congress, the World Federation for Mental Health was founded, and Rees was elected as its first president. This organization is now a non-GO, non-government organization with formal consulting status at the UN. There's an annual Rees lecture in memory of Rees' wife, Mary Hemingway Rees, among the first members of Tavistock Clinic when it was founded in 1920, one of the founders of the WFMH, which is the World Federation for Mental Health. Rees retired from his post in 1962, though he continued to act as a consultant. He died at his London home on April 11, 1969. So there is some selected bibliography here by Trist here. The Social Engagement of Social Science, the Tavistock Ethnology, Volume 1 by E.L. Trist. Free Associate Books, he has a name here, ISBN, 50 Years of the Tavistock Clinic by Henry V. Dix. That's a V as in Victor. The Shaping of Psychiatry by War. This is a book published by Norton, 1945. The Case of Rudolf Hess, A Problem in Diagnosis and Forensic Psychiatry, I should say, 1948 by John R. Rees and Henry Victor Dix. Hess, The Missing Years, 1987 by David Irving. Interesting book by this guy. David Irving's a maverick, folks. The ISBN numbers here. And then Colonel J.R. Reed's Strategic Planning for Mental Health. And then there's a couple of things. But the book here by David Irving is key. That would be an interesting book to get if it's in print. I doubt it is because David Irving is a bad guy, according to the rest of the people I hear. So we'll see what we can find. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you. I just want to give you an idea who he was. He's a major player in all this, folks. But there are others that helped out here. And it's also one other thing we need to understand that all this began to start and was involved with what we call the Fabians. The Fabians are this group here. This is in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and they're the ones that began to push the idea of socialism. We need to help the poor people. But it never came out of their pockets, folks. It never will. They just simply let the government take that responsibility and then charge taxes for it. And some of these people were very important people, such as H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells is not your hero, folks. He also has a guy named here, Bernard Shaw, another fake, folks. And you have one other here. These people are what I call, they have good ideas. We want to help these people, such and such. And then what happens simply is that, guess what? They let the government become more socialist and begin to have more control of people's lives. The other mental person besides H.G. Wells and George Bernard Shaw was Sidney and Beatrice Webb, but also Bertrand Russell, who's a key figure also. Pretty important people, folks. Out of those 5 people here, 4 of them I know of. The only one I don't know much about is Sidney and Beatrice Webb, which is actually a husband and wife team. I do know this simply is that uh, what is the word I want to say? Oh, I was going to say something here. I lost my thought here, but it's been a gradualism. It's also gradualism if you think about it. Even in the 1860s, when uh, many of the communists came here to the United States after the failure of the 1848 revolutions in Europe, it's important you know this stuff. You need to be able to connect the dots. That's what you need to do in order for you to see how this is happening. So, so anyway, just looking at this thing here. Um, let me look at his other thing here real quick. It's just amazing how this guy went up really quick. He moved up the chart. He moved up real quite rapidly. Uh, Again, notable works are the shaping of psychiatry by war, modern practices in psychological medicine, and then the help of the mind. This is really fun. This is the really awesome. This is not awesome. This is a really detrimental thing to say. But ever since man has tried to quote unquote to study the mind in many ways, it's been disastrous for man. Think about that, folks. It's been a disaster. What I mean by that simply is that um, trying to think of the American psychologist that started this whole thing, father of psychology, William James. And ever since then, it's a great commendable thing to start this and supposedly to help mental retarded, whatever you want to call it. But what happens simply is it leads to sinister ideas. That's what happens. And more money is thrown at it, and it's not getting any better. It's just simply casting a bigger net to get other people caught in it. You see, so it's not actually helping. It's it's actually causing harm. You see. So anyway, I'm going to share that. I don't want to go long here. I just want to share this information because it's valuable. I'd like to know more, and we'll continue to look into this. But thank you for being here. Again, thank you for your attention. Again, you have to have ears to hear. You have to have eyes to see. If you're not willing to do that, then this won't help you. Okay? It's all important for you to have ears to hear and eyes to see how they completely have befuddle you as a human being. Maybe I shouldn't even use that word human being because human being is a bad word to say to anybody because we're not human beings, folks. Okay. We're far greater than that. Okay. So thank you again for your time. I wish you a good night. You take care.